Hey everyone, welcome to the newest episode of On That Note with Parker Whirling. I'm incredibly excited for today's guest because they're a very fun pop duo based in Brooklyn, New York. They just released a new song called Super Classic off of their Super Classic EP that they recorded in Bristol, Tennessee when they had to escape New York during the pandemic, shack themselves up in a cabin, and make a disco record. They've even worked with previous On That Note guests Khazali and Simon Spine. Before we get the episode started, please make sure to like and subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. And on that note, please welcome Supertaste. All right, I'm sitting here with Supertaste. Thank you guys for joining me for an episode of On That Note. We got Zach, aka Hundreds Thousands, and Lucas, aka Slug Father or Slug Papito, Slug Daddy, whatever you want to call him, from Brooklyn, New York. All right, guys, congratulations on the release of Super Classic. It's a total bop, and I understand that it's a single off of an EP you guys haven't coming off this summer. And I also read that you guys recorded this in Bristol, Tennessee. So the first question is, do you guys remember the exact moment during the pandemic when you decided to just say, fuck it, we're packing up the instruments, we're going into the middle of Tennessee to record a disco EP?
To be honest, it like, because of how quickly things just like turned to shit at the beginning of the pandemic, it was really just like, honestly, like we had a show on Friday night, and then Lucas hit me up on Thursday and was just like, hey dude, I don't know if you've seen all the headlines, but like, I'm getting out of here. I've got to get a flight back like tomorrow. You're gonna have to play this 5-hour set tomorrow night by yourself. And I did.
Sorry.
And then yeah, it's okay.
Holy shit.
And then it was just like, I hit up my siblings because we were all just like, yeah, we're gonna like head down to the lake if the end of the world happens, and it was happening. So we were just like, pack up everything we have and just go. So we left on Sunday with like 2 days notice. So it wasn't really like a whole thought out thing. We did, we have made other hiatuses back to the lake since the pandemic like started.
And those times were a lot more intentional, where those experience, like, I think the first time around right at the beginning of the pandemic, Zach and the fam kind of just went there and were laying low. And then once he was there for a few months, he kind of proposed to me the idea of, hey, what if I bring down everything in a car from Brooklyn and drive it down to Bristol, and we kind of sit down and have few weeks, like, throughout a couple of months, a few weeks at a time, where we can just sit down and work on the music. And it was interesting trying to put ourselves in the mindset of making like disco summer bangers while it was cold and snowy and rainy in the mountains of Tennessee, but I think we accomplished what we wanted out of it.
Yeah, you guys certainly did. It is like, it's such a perfect, like super classic. That song is such a perfect nighttime driving bop. And then I thought today, I was listening during the day, I'm like, this is also like driving down PCH, like just cruising with some babes. Like, it's a total...
That's the goal.
Yeah,
that's the goal.
You guys really nailed the sound. Despite the environment it seems like you guys were in. Was that a challenge, or was that like a fun part of it?
I think it was definitely a bit challenging at times, but it was also like, we were writing music. Like we've all been craving these like live experiences and like being back in like a club together. And I think that, tapping into like that craving or like that desire to like be back in those spaces was a bit easier than I would expect, just because like it's been on everyone's mind. Like, it's definitely been on my mind. It's definitely been on Lucas's mind, as people who like, practically live in those spaces on the weekends in a normal time.
And I think we've been particularly intentional this time around, where we weren't going in with a complete blank canvas of saying to ourselves, we have no idea what this is going to sound like. Let's throw some shit at the wall and see what sticks. I think this was the first piece of music that we did this EP that we kind of really had an idea sonically and visually of what we wanted it to look and feel and sound like. So once we were there, since we kind of had the goal in mind, it didn't feel so abstract and complicated, I guess.
Gotcha. Did you enjoy having more of a goal you were shooting for, or do you appreciate kind of more of a blank space environment?
I mean, I think that when we really started out as Supertaste, it was more of the blank space environment, and it was a little bit stressful for us because we both have kind of like, we were basically trying to do like this mixture of like what our sounds are, but for this one it was more just like we kind of know what our sound is at this point, or at least what we're going for, what we're aiming for. So I think that while a blank canvas is really nice at times, it helps if you at least know kind of what colors you're painting with, if that makes sense.
Every interview we do, every person we talk to, we tell everyone, make a mood board, make the mood board, make a sound mood board, aka just kind of a playlist, but with more of a direct vision in mind. And we tell that to everyone, and that, I think I stand by that. That helped us enormously trying to figure out, we like a lot of music, but what is our music going to sound like? And I think the playlist mood board really pushed that along the way for us.
Very cool. I don't know if I personally have ever made a playlist mood board. That's a great idea. What was on some of y'all's playlist mood board for this new EP?
I mean, for the new EP, I feel like a lot of S.G. Lewis was in there. I feel like some Eka was in there.
Okay.
I think, maybe not as a direct inspiration, but Todd Terrier's sound is always in our mood board, I would say.
Yeah, we fuck with the people like Satin Jackets and Gold Room and all those folks, and we love them. Shout outs to them. But also, I think I would be remiss to not mention how inspired I personally am by Donny Benet. He's the GOAT. He has the greatest bass lines in funk music today, and shout out to Donny Benet because his track Konnichiwa sent me into a tailspin of trying to make funkier bass lines.
That's amazing. I think funky bass lines really bring y'all's music out. Like, I can hear it for sure in the new song Super Classic. And personally, I've been listening to a little bit more Motown recently, and I think that has some of the best bass lines in music history. I don't know what you guys think.
Agreed. And I mean, speaking of funky bass lines, the track that we're actually putting out. So we worked on this EP on a couple of tracks with a friend of ours, Zach Jackson, who plays with the band.
Shout out to Zach Jack.
Shout out. He plays with the band Mama Magnolia. But the track that we're actually putting out May 5th is features one of his just like absolute shredding bass lines. So very, very excited to do. It was a track that we like. I think it's the oldest one on the EP as far as as our timeline of writing, but it was the last thing that we were just like, we really want something else to just like beef this up a bit more, and it was the last like added musical element was like getting Zach Jackson to play bass on this song.
Yeah,
and
I think it really pulled it together.
Yeah.
Did you have any notes for him going into it, or were you just like, do your thing?
I mean, we had a bass line that one of us had recorded, and we were like, hey, this is like generally what it should sound like, but like make it just better sounding.
Yeah. I think also in the past we've done it again, kind of commenting towards the mood board idea that we say, we laid down this basic bass line, and this is the chord progression, these are the root notes and all that jazz, and this is kind of our original thought, but we're looking for more of this other song kind of rhythmic component to the bass line, and I think he's done a really good job of hearing our communication and our kind of more abstract ideas and coming back with something really, really cool that we were super stoked about. So shout out again to Zach Jackson. There's another track coming out in June that to me is the real mind blower bass line of the whole EP, and it's a fucking slapper, and that is also credits to Zach Jackson. So I'm very excited about that.
Big shout out to Zach Jackson having a hand here on the new EP. I talked to a lot of people, a lot of solo artists, or just people that do a lot of stuff, like they kind of do everything from beginning to end, but I enjoy talking to people who collaborate and have more of like a mind meld situation, like it seems like you guys do. So between the two of you, who's kind of doing what? Is it pretty like open-ended, like there's not a set, this person does this person does that? And what advice would you give to someone who's looking to collaborate with somebody? Like, what should they want to see in a collaborative partner?
I mean, I think that generally and Lucas, definitely chime in if you feel differently, but I feel like the most effective kind of formula that we have come up with is like either Lucas or I will come up with like an idea, or usually like I'll bring like a chord progression to the table and then just be like, we should, maybe like build off of this. Lucas is really good at like programming the percussion, and kind of like doing an outline of the song, and then we'll kind of like work collaboratively on that if we can. Under pandemic times, it's been kind of remote work on Splice and just like sending things back and forth on SoundCloud. But then the vocals and lyrics will usually come closer to the end of the song, generally speaking, I feel like. But it really is like very much a back and forth, but I think our most successful formulas have been ones where like we come to the table with an idea and then build off of that.
Yeah, my advice to people trying to collaborate is try and find that beautiful middle ground where you've created something new that obviously is its own new thing, but also that there's room to expand on it. Because I know in the past for me, it's like I've made this mistake plenty of times where either I present an idea that's just 10% of the way there and people are like, I don't even know what to do with this kind of, but on the other end I've sent something that feels like it's almost done, saying let's collaborate on this, and the other producer's like, I don't know what to do with this also because it's kind of done already. So maybe doing it your traditional studio songwriter style where you're just bringing forth a chord progression and some vocals, or just a main instrumental line and you're looking to bring on a vocalist. But yeah, I think our most successful formula has been Zach writing kind of a chord progression, me making a sort of song skeleton with drums and the different breakdowns and the different song sections, and then kind of adding them to one another and then creating the rest of the song from there once it feels like there's sort of a rough sketch of the initial idea.
Interesting. It can certainly be that fine line when you're collaborating with people, like you said, bringing that 10% or bringing that 90% isn't quite helpful for anyone. But if you bring it a skeleton, it allows the imagination to go further than maybe it would if you literally had nothing, or if it's pretty much done.
Right. Oh, I guess on that note, I can give the other advice of like speak to your you read the room, speak to your crowd. Like if you're going to a producer who does like I know, for example, with this guy Wev that mixed was one of the guys that mixed the record, and he, I think he's unbelievable at drum programming and percussion programming and those kind of things. And so it's like if you're trying to collaborate with a producer who they dominate in the percussion and drum space, bring them a chord progression and a kick drum and let them take it from there. Speak to your crowd, if you know that it's an amazing vocalist, bring them a completed instrumental and let them handle the vocals. So like cater what you're delivering to the person you're delivering it to.
Yeah, I guess
that's sorry, go ahead.
Good. I was just gonna say it's a good little segue. Like the way that we found your podcast was, I saw one of our friends, Khazali, posted about his interview on here, and we're working on some music with him right now, where that was like, a perfect example where we kind of brought this instrumental to him and we're just like, do you hear anything in this? Like, we would love to like work on something with you. And he took maybe 16 hours and sent us back basically like a full version of the song. But that was just like, us coming to him with basically a full instrumental and him like laying down like 15 different vocal takes over top. And that just, the streamline of that worked so perfectly just because of, understanding each other's strong suits.
Yeah. Again, kind of catering to our crowd, that we knew that he wasn't going to try to produce a full song with us, but he's kind of the singer-songwriter vocalist. And so we kind of put him in that position to just do his thing, and he ran with it, and it turned out great.
And big shout out to Khazali. He seems like the coolest dude, and he's mad talented.
So talented.
He's the GOAT. Yeah. So stay tuned for some new jams and collabs from Supertaste and Khazali, because some cool stuff is on the way for sure.
Will that be on the EP, or is that a separate thing?
That's gonna be a separate thing.
Okay. Cool. Well,
actually, not exactly sure where that's gonna fit quite yet, but it's not on this EP. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, I'm shaking in my boots, ready to hear it, because that sounds like the collaboration of a lifetime to me. And I love that, two guests of On That Note are working together. That's so cool.
Yeah, man. We're excited about it. I didn't realize that he was on OTN, and I love to hear it. We are big Khazali fans, so we support that all around.
Yeah, and then I guess another cross-pollination was I've been working with Brother Michael on my solo project, Brother Michael from Simon Spine, who you also had on here.
Yeah.
I've been working with him on some mixing stuff on my end, and he's also incredibly talented.
Yeah, so anyways, we're huge On That Note fans, I guess. We kind of take all of our ideas from you. Yeah, when I said mood board, I just meant we watch your podcast and take your artists. But
you guys are making me blush over here. Damn. No, that's so cool that you guys have that community. And what's really cool about the fact that, unfortunately we're in this pandemic, but I think it has forced people to reach outside of their immediate sphere of people to collaborate. Like, you can collaborate with Khazali, who's in London, completely virtually. And that's such a blessing that people, I think, are waking up to. And now that you guys have experienced all this virtually, what would you say is your favorite part of the recording process? And I guess it doesn't have to be virtually, but just in general, what's your favorite part of the recording process?
The combination moment for me, the combination moment, like when I have the chord progression from Zach and I have my own idea, and when like I'm done combining it and I can finally I can envision the vocals and I can hear the rest of the song in my head, that's when I'm like, oh, we're fucking cooking with gas now, baby. Like, that's definitely, at least, like, obviously that may not be the most satisfying as finishing a complete song, but to me it's like my most excited moment, because I'm like, oh shit, here we go. Like, this, we're ramping up and this is about to be a real song and I can hear it in my head. So that's my most excited moment of the process, personally. What about you, Zachary?
I feel like, two things. One, when we're like in a room together, because a lot of our stuff has been like, it's not really been like a slow build. A lot of it's been like we like sit down for 5 hours, and like at the end of 5 hours have like a pretty good idea of what something's gonna sound like. And when you feel really good about the end of what you're hearing at the end of that 5 hours, like that is one of my favorite things ever. When you like, you don't want to stop that like loop that you've been listening to for 5 hours straight, because it's like in your head. That, and then I think that like once we have the full structure of the song and all of everything written, the moment that you pair like the final vocals with the song is just like, it gives me chills whenever you like hear what you thought it was going to sound like. It's gone from an
idea to a song, right?
When you hear like what you hoped it would sound like or thought it would sound like, and then you hear what it actually sounds like, and it's a little bit different, but it's like way better. That's the best.
Yeah, taking it from that seed to a full tree of a song is like such a ridiculous thing. And sometimes it takes 5 hours, like you said, and sometimes it can take like a year, and you don't even, because it takes like it takes other life experiences for you to really hone your song into something that it's supposed to be. And that can be really frustrating, but I think patience is such a big part of that. Yeah.
And that's a great example for our track Neon Prayer that's coming out on May 5th. That was one that we workshopped and redid versions, and every single time I just was like, something feels like it's missing, or just is like left some extra oomph is not there. And that's when we brought in Zach Jack, and I think that was a moment that I finally felt like satisfied, and felt the song sounded complete and sounded full and complex enough. I don't think every song needs to be so complex and detailed all the time, especially when you're doing like what we're doing and making kind of pop music and indie kind of disco music. Like, not everything needs to be so dense sonically, but at the same time I still like to keep things interesting and fluid and a little bit more complex at times when we can, but we're stoked. In other words, May 5th, keep your ears peeled.
Yeah, get ready, everyone.
Funky bass lines, strap in.
So I want to ask you guys about your Breakup Disco EP remixes, because I know that you're both experienced DJs. So what do you want to hear when it comes to somebody remixing your own song? Like, what makes a good remix?
I think that in any case, what makes a good remix is like, I don't know, there's there's always those remixes that you hear and it's just like, this is great, but I just want to hear the original song now, kind of thing. You know, I feel like that's like the trap that you always can fall into with doing remixes, and generally that's how I gauge whether or not it's a good remix. It's just like, if I would rather just listen to the original song, then I would rather just listen to the original song. But with these, I think that, you know, some of our songs definitely teeter on the line of like, we could play this in, you know, a 118 to 125 BPM like DJ set, but they're not quite there. So I think that some of the remixes that we went after with that last EP was, you know, we were wanting to get these into like a club setting, and I think that, you know, a lot of the artists that we worked with really did a great job of that. The remix that I did as a 100 Thousands version was definitely the antithesis of that. It was like, let's strip down all of the drum elements and make this like something you could listen to like at the very end of the night with no kind of like beat that you're trying to dance to. But yeah, Lucas, what do you think?
Yeah, I love that they had their own take on it. I love that they made it a little more straight up dancey. I think it's paid dividends for us in major ways, just purely in like, you know, we've been doing a lot of guest mixes and radio features and just a lot of for our mixing and DJing purposes, which we're going to be really leaning into heavily this summer and heavier on different online platforms and radio stations and blogs, etc. That it's really been awesome to be able to play our songs and still have it be Supertaste songs, but have it be in a different setting and within a different context, especially when we're playing, like he said, more upbeat 120 BPM straight up house music or disco music, and we can play a Supertaste song, we can still play Got Me Loose, or we can still play What It Come Down or whatever, and we can put it in a way different context, and hopefully also if people know our music that we can surprise them a little bit and like play what they think they know, and then it's a cool, funky, interesting spin on it. So shout out to everyone who worked on the remix package. They're all super, super talented producers. We felt and feel very blessed that people were willing to take the time to remix the music that we made and give their own spin on it. So we were really happy, I think, with how it turned out. You know, I don't want to say we had low expectations. That makes it sound like we didn't think the songs were going to be good. We just had no expectations for making this into like a huge release cycle kind of thing. We just wanted to really present remixes of our songs and present other producers that we know and love, and kind of not make it so much of a formal full rollout and more of a like DJ tools kind of rollout.
That's so interesting that you guys got to have that experience. I personally have never had a song of mine remixed or tried to remix someone else's song. Like, I'm so inexperienced with that, but that's really cool that you get to hear somebody else's completely different interpretation of something that you created. Did you guys go to them with an idea, or did you just say like free reign, do what you want?
It was really just free reign. I mean, the people that we reached out to were all, you know, friends of ours who we know and trust with their production abilities. And I think that, you know, for the first couple of people, we were just like, we never told anyone what song to remix. It was more just like, hey, would you be interested in any of these? And by the time we had, you know, 2 or 3 people on board, we were like, maybe you would want to like look at one of these other ones since we're going to have like a double up or whatever. But it was never like, hey, we want you to remix this song with like this style in mind. But because I think we chose all the people that we worked with.
We just wanted to do their style. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. That
and I'm very much looking forward to us remixing some other people's tracks in the future and kind of putting the Supertaste spin on some other less funky music. So we'll be doing that soon as well, for sure.
Right on. Well, I am, like I said, very uneducated when it comes to the art of the DJ or the role of the DJ in the music world. I've never really gotten involved. I've always been kind of an admirer from afar. So how would you describe what a DJ does and like what the role of a DJ is, or how you approach music to someone who just has no idea how that works?
I mean, I think that I feel like the role of the DJ has been, you know, in the past like 20 years just like over glorified to some extent, where, you know, we have like these 100,000 person crowds with like this massive production, and like the focus is like on the DJ booth, which I think is kind of just been a little bit skewed from like the initial intention of the DJ, which was just literally play continuous music for people to dance to. And the focus was like, you know, back in the like David Mancuso days where he had his like loft parties in New York, you know, he would have the DJ come out and play beginning to end an entire, you know, the entire song, and then the DJ wasn't even like the center focus of the evening. It was just like everyone was surrounded by speakers, there were balloons, there was baby powder all over the floor. It was like everyone was like dancing and sliding around and like having a good time. It wasn't like they came to see the DJ. It was for the music. So I think keeping that in mind when DJing is super important, but also, you know, people enjoy a performance. So like the more that, you know, the performers can make it a performance, I feel like the more interesting or intriguing it could be.
Yeah, and I think also that different places, both in the US and around the world, kind of, I didn't realize this until semi-recently, but I think different locations are looking for slightly different, maybe this is a trite observation, but different places are looking for kind of different experiences, where some people and places are just looking to hear a DJ play songs that they already know and that they're familiar with and things that they can dance and sing along to. But in some places, like I found this is really true in New York, people almost get upset at you if you play shit that people know. Like, people want you to be pushing the envelope and playing music they've never heard before and playing some underground shit that no one's familiar with, and like having that like next cool thing on the USB that no one's heard of and that everyone wants to get after they hear it. And so I think, you know, it's obviously different from place to place, but it's kind of interesting that some locations are a little bit more discovery focused, where people specifically want to hear things that they're not so familiar with, and then a lot of places that's all they want is to hear. They're like, why are you playing these songs I haven't heard before? And, you know, from growing, you know, getting my sea legs under me as a New York DJ, sometimes I've gone in places and they're just like, what is this? And I'm just like, oh, right, like I should just play some shit that you know, and we're good. So
that is, you know, like, as like a live act, you know, if you're a band, you are going to perform like your music, which we obviously will be doing with Supertaste, you know, going and like performing some like live renditions of our music for sure. But I think, you know, when you step into that role as a DJ, like one of the biggest most important elements of being a good DJ is like, you know, it's not even necessarily like the mixing into like another song, it's really reading the room and like playing off the crowd. And like, you're also fortunate as a DJ where like the purpose of the music that you're spinning usually is like dance music. So if people are dancing, the music is doing its job, you know, so you can see a very like immediate reaction from the crowd that you're performing for. Whereas if you're, you know, a singer-songwriter and you're playing an acoustic guitar, it's a little bit harder to read, you know, the reaction of the crowd. It's a bit harder to read like, am I communicating properly? Are people like giving me the proper reaction to what I'm going for? But with dance music, it's like if you drop, you know, if you like play the song, the drop comes in, it's like if people are dancing, you're doing your job right, essentially.
If we see people raging nuts, then we're crushing it.
I mean, that's really
all
the
I
goal
need to
at
know.
the end of the day, you know, just to keep people dancing.
Yeah. Exactly. Keeping ourselves dancing too. We still like to, you know, I think I'm sure you'll see us play soon in New York or wherever else, but we definitely like to deliver the same energy that we want to see on the dance floor. So you will always see us dancing and having fun on stage 100% of the time.
Wow. Well, thank you for taking me through that like DJ 101 lesson right there. Like,
dude,
I feel like I should have been taking notes. Damn, but I could go back and listen to this again.
Yeah, welcome to our masterclass.
I love it. Yeah, you guys should have one of those. Well, I hate to say it, but I didn't realize that because I have two people on at the same time that there's like a time limit. But I think we can take it as a challenge. I think we can do the last 5 here in 7.5 minutes, no doubt. But if you guys are up for that, I say let's just go for it right now.
Let's rip it.
All right, number 1, Logic or Ableton?
Ableton.
Why Ableton over Logic?
You can perform live with it.
Exactly. That's definitely the biggest one. And also, for some reason in my head, like, Lucas and I produced different ways. I think different backgrounds, but I grew up on like a folk background, so it was like my writing process was playing a chord progression over and over again, and like basically playing in a loop until I had a song written out. And in Ableton, you can build in loops, and you can build song sessions in loops, and that makes so much more sense in my head than like
so that's our split. We're both Ableton, but he's session mode guy and I'm arrangement mode guy. So for all our producers out there, shout out to the arrangement mode squad. It's a mouthful. Arrangement mode team. All right, fuck me, but
we got you. We got you. That's so funny. I forgot that there is probably like a mini civil war between the Ableton crew as well, just because of arrangement mode and live mode.
Yes, precisely. I'm team arrangement. All right, beautiful. Let's keep hustling.
Let's do it. Question number 2. What is a perfect album to you guys, front to back?
Oh my god. I mean, in our world, it's Album Time by Todd Terje. Is like cover to cover. It is a full experience, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, I'll second that motion. For me personally, I really like the band Yes.
Okay.
And I think Close to the Edge. I think Close to the Edge by Yes is 3 songs, and it's a half hour long, and is like one of the best records I've ever heard, and it changed my life as a musician at a young age. So I think that record is perfect.
Wow. And what was the first one you said?
It's Album Time by Todd Terje.
Okay. That's the second time you mentioned Todd Terje, and I don't know who he is. So I'm glad to.
Oh man, you're in for a treat, pal.
I guess so. I'll have to let you guys know what I think of it after the interview.
Yeah, please do.
All right. Question number 3. Who is your dream artist / producer to work with?
I would really love to work with Corey Wong one day, personally, of Wolfpack.
Oh, yeah.
I think it would be really cool to, like, maybe have us playing bass lines, or have, the people we know ripping some cool bass lines, and really having that, like, because I guess I put him maybe in the category, I mean, this is a really bold statement, but I guess stylistically I put him in the same category as like a Nile Rodgers style funk, extra strummy guitar. But I like that he's kind of the new generation of that, kind of paving new roads. So I would personally love to have Corey Wong ripping some guitar chords on our song.
I would definitely second that. And then also, like, I think one of our biggest influences from like a band perspective is Parcels, and doing anything with Parcels would be just like the sickest thing ever. They're amazing.
Right on. So Parcels,
they're the cool Euro version of us.
Okay, yeah. I've heard of Parcels, and I haven't checked them out, so I'll make sure to do that. Somebody else even said Parcels on this show, so now I definitely have to check them out.
You're in for another treat. Oh man, I'm so
it's
excited.
Halloween over here.
Trick and treat and Parcels today. You're gonna have a blast. Yeah.
I try to figure out who I think would be a good artist or producer for my guest to work with, and of course, number 1, R.I.P. Daft Punk. That would be amazing. And number 2,
yeah, of course,
LCD Sound System would also be unbelievable.
Big LCD fan. Big LCD fan.
Totally agree. I think personally, I mean, I don't know if he would say this about himself, but I personally believe that Zach's solo music as Hundreds Thousands sounds very LCD Sound System influenced, and if you like LCD Sound System, you might like Hundreds Thousands, so go check it out.
There you go. Getting the plug from your collaborative partner here. All right, question number 4 is, what is the next piece of equipment on your wish list?
Fender P bass or Fender Jazz bass. I just gotta like finally step up, and I really want to get a Mexican Telecaster, and I want to get a Fender J bass, and just really start, because we have one that we record the Supertaste bass lines on, but it is, to be frank with you, a friend of ours and not our personal bass, and I just can't wait to start shredding with that guy. But I presenteth to you the other acts of Supertaste. We have the Alpine White Gibson, and this guy has been my trusty axe since I was 13 years old. I got it for my bar mitzvah.
That's legendary.
I would definitely say, like, I have just gotten into like the Moog analog synth world, or at least I've just made my first like purchase. I got the Moog Siren, which is fantastic. I would love to get like a more of like a sub fatty type instrument that actually like has, you know, the keyboard on board. But aside from that, I think that anything in the Juno series definitely is like in our wheelhouse of sounds. We've been using the like
Zach is
Tao.
big time. Yeah, Zach's big time analog synth guy these days, and I'm trying to become more like cool retro instruments guy, and hopefully have some new guitars and basses to play with while he's learning the ways of the analog world.
Right on. Well, I'm sorry to rush you guys, but I think this will be a great challenge. You got like 1 minute to describe the ideal night out with Supertaste.
Oh my God. We start out on a rooftop for sure. Well, first of all, we go to dinner. We go to grab Winson in Bushwick or in Williamsburg. We go to a rooftop for sunset DJ set. Make our way over to Black Flamingo downstairs. Watch a DJ spin there, preferably Ellie Escobar, and then maybe make our way to an Afters. Is that in our...
Maybe Afters, and if not, directly across the street, shout out to Way Williamsburg, because it's the only place in like the Williamsburg, Bushwick, Brooklyn area that you can get soup dumplings and shit until 4 a.m. And that's really the key, and it's right across from Black Flamingo. So if you're on a night out with us, you're probably going to be eating like 2 to 3 meals, but that's the way we do it. And dude, thank you so much again for having us on. We really, really appreciate it. We're Supertaste. We have a new song out May 5th. Fuck with us. We love you lots. We're your DJ's favorite DJ. Sending love and kisses from Brooklyn,
Zach,
New York.
Lucas, thank you guys. Y'all really fucking killed that last 5. And yeah, everybody go check out the new song May 5th, Supertaste, Forever.
Forever.
Love you, buddy. Thank you again.
See you guys. Thank y'all.
Later, Parker.
Thank you again for joining me for another episode of On That Note with Parker Whirling. If you haven't yet, please make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts, and you can even leave a comment down below to let me know who you're listening to. On that note, I'll see you guys next time.